Hello, YouTube. My name is Scott, and welcome to another episode of Opinions No One Cares About, the video series that can be anything you want it to be, as long as you just believe. So, I've made it to 10 episodes, if you don't count that last one because it was a bonus episode, which is basically like calling John Hurt the War Doctor and not the actual Ninth Doctor, but I digress. Episode 10 will be about endings. I don't know if this is the best time for this, but we're going to press on, because I am a fan of the TV show Supernatural. Supernatural was supposed to have ended this year, but the virus pushed, halted, production of its episodes, and they've only managed to do 13 so far that I know of. The 13 that are thankfully on Netflix. But watching them has made me worried about the ending, because there have been some good shows, and let's face it, mediocre ones, that have made it to the finish line and at the ending just kind of tripped and fallen. I don't feel like there have been a lot of great endings lately. So, since I'm a guy on YouTube who's allowed to criticize stuff, I'm going to criticize a few endings. Big Bang Theory. So let's start off with the Big Bang Theory. If you ever wondered if a TV show could survive for 12 seasons with nothing but a laugh track and nerdy pop culture references, now you know. And they leaned heavily into that laugh track. Have you ever seen any of the clips people have shown, showing bits from the show without it?
Nothing makes beer taste better than cool, clear Rocky Mountain spring water. Where are the Rocky Mountains anyway?
Philadelphia.
Really? I thought they were out west someplace.
Think about it, Raj. Where did the movie Rocky take place?
See what I mean? But that's not what sinks the finale of the show, because that kind of thing was happening all the time. Here's what happens. So Sheldon and Amy win the Nobel Prize, and they're on their way to Sweden to collect it. But meanwhile, some other stuff happens too. You may remember the eternally stopped elevator that never seemed to work? There it is. Oh, and speaking of Penny...
I'm pregnant, Sheldon.
And then on top of that, while Sheldon is giving his acceptance speech in Stockholm, he manages to single out all of his friends, the ones who have helped and supported him throughout his entire journey to this point. I don't know about the rest of you that watch that show regularly, but I knew all those things were going to happen when I saw the finale coming. The elevator was a focal point of the show that forced characters to have conversations while they walked up a few flights of stairs almost every episode. So yeah, not only did you know it was going to be fixed, it damn well better have been. And these are all young people getting married and, moving on with their lives from these two apartments. So, if one of the characters has already gotten pregnant and had 2 kids, you knew sooner or later Amy or Penny was going to end up pregnant. Even the bit with Sheldon accepting his Nobel Prize speech and honoring his friends didn't surprise me, because that was basically the conclusion of his character arc. He started off just being antisocial and possibly having Asperger's, although apparently he didn't, and ended being much more of a warm, caring person, not by much, but enough to have a full character arc. And if you want to wrap up loose ends with your show's finale, fine. But don't make it so predictable that at the end, everybody's watching, clicks off, and is like, yeah, knew that, called it. It's almost as bad as leaning into the laugh track as heavily as they did. Next on the list, Gotham. I actually really liked this show. Gotham was basically a Batman AU that asked the question, what if Jim Gordon, the future commissioner of police in Gotham City, was actually the detective who was called upon to investigate the Thomas and Martha Wayne murders? And the show went from there. And it actually overturned a conviction that some people have expressed in canon and probably in real life, saying that the only reason these supervillains exist in Gotham is because Batman exists. Well, Gotham the TV show turned all that on its ear, because most of the major villains were established before Bruce Wayne ever decided to put on a cape and go out punching bad guys in the nose. The Penguin was in the mob. He was an underling's underling, but still in the mob. The Riddler actually worked for the police in Jim Gordon's precinct as a medical examiner, Catwoman was already a teenage cat burglar who actually witnessed the Wayne family murder. The Joker wasn't there yet. It took a couple of seasons. He would have been kicking around in a circus, which by pure coincidence also hosted the Grayson family acrobats. So, over time, all the villains tend to show up, so you say to yourself, well, where's Batman? He must have been in there for a while, you know? I mean, these are super villains. Who thinks the police would be able to handle them? Yeah. Do you want to see what Batman did in this show? I'll show you. That clip was 16 seconds long, the last 16 seconds of the entire series, and basically the only time you see Batman. This last episode, which takes place 10 years in the future, is the only time you see Batman. Which really doesn't make any sense, because Batman and Gotham City kind of go together. I mean, the last season basically ripped off The Dark Knight Rises, with Gotham being cut off from the mainland and at one point under siege by the government. And I came up with a better idea for a last season just making this video. Check this out. You start the last season, still 10 years in the future. Bruce Wayne's returned to Gotham and Batman has started kicking ass. But Jim Gordon, super cop that he is, he actually got shot 4 times in one episode and, nothing happened. Figures out that Bruce Wayne is in fact Batman. And then, over the season, you see them being able to work together. Gordon realizing that Batman has to do what he does because Jim can't always catch the villains his way. I don't know exactly what the ending would be, but I think it would be a lot better than those 16 seconds. Then we come to How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother is about a man 10 years from now telling his kids about things that happened to him 15 years ago, and being in the middle of it like that, when, you got the future and the past all mixed up, gets a little wibbly-wobbly. But anyway, we're talking about the last episode, and here is what happens. The show ends with Ted finishing the story that he was telling his children about how he met their mother. But his kids don't really buy it. They point out, quite rightly, that of all the time that he was talking, he mentioned their mother very little. And over the course of the conversation, it's revealed to him, at least, that it's okay with his kids if he dates Robin. So, you see Robin gets back to her surprisingly similar New York apartment, and there is good old Ted, just waiting for her, and of course holding the blue French horn. My problem with this episode, it goes along with what I was saying in the voiceover. How you realize that this show is called How I Met Your Mother, and the mother factors very little into it. And in the end, Ted just winds up with Robin. The problem I have is, those scenes with the kids were filmed back at the beginning of the show, so they didn't have to bring in younger actors when it was finally over, or try to de-age them or anything. And they shot the ending at the beginning, which, negates the entire show. You're talking about How I Met Your Mother, but it was always predetermined that Ted was just going to end up with Robin after the mother died. I mean, seriously, what good was this show besides... Oh yeah, NPH. Kind of brought him back. I forgot about that. Yeah, you don't get a full pass for that. Slight pass for Neil Patrick Harris. Otherwise, no. So there you have it, folks. A couple of recent shows with really bad endings, and you got to watch me sweat and stammer through the whole thing. Hope you liked it. If you did, do the usual YouTube stuff. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until next time, my name is Scott, and this has been Opinions No One Cares About. Everyone has opinions. This one was mine.